This is the President's Van Buren, Harrison, and Tyler Study Guide. In the election of 1836, Martin Van Buren was chosen to be the next President of the United States following Andrew Jackson. He had been Jackson's vice president. Many amazing things and discoveries occurred during Van Buren's presidency, like the telegraph, matches, first photograph, vulcanizing rubber, creating first schools. But there were also some very, very bad problems. He had to finish the Indian removal. He had to finish the Seminole War that had been started by Andrew Jackson. He also had to deal with the Panic of 1837, an economic crisis that began a mere 36 days after he took office. So he started with optimism and very quickly ended up in depression. The Panic of 1837 happened because speculators began buying land by borrowing huge amounts of money. The Bank of the United States was eliminated during Jackson's presidency, and the state banks began to print more and more and more money that was not backed by gold and silver. The gold and silver are what gives the money its value. This depreciated or lowered the value of American currency, meaning you could not buy as much with the same amount of money. Jackson had tried to stop this by ordering that land purchases be paid for only in gold and silver, but it was too little too late, and it was not able to stop the crush that was going to follow. A depression hit America and lasted for 3 years. People were starving, they were out of work. 90% of the factories in the North closed down. Although Van Buren was a great politician, he was blamed for the nation's problems. Although many of them started during Jackson's presidency, he supported most of Jackson's plans and carried them into his presidency, which ended up causing him problems. The Whigs saw Van Buren's difficulties as an opportunity for victory in the next election. They knew, however, that their candidate would have to be someone that was a common man, like Jackson had been. They chose William Henry Harrison of the Battle of Tippecanoe, and they chose John Tyler to run as his vice presidential running mate. The Democrats decided to renominate Van Buren for president. Not a good idea considering how low his approval rating was after his first term of office. Harrison led what was called a down-to-earth campaign. He toured the country, he gave speeches, he met with the people. His supporters, when he was out on the campaign trail, would roll balls down the street crying, "Keep the ball rolling," meaning to keep the country moving along. He also gave away campaign buttons and flyers and things that had Tippecanoe and Tyler too, to remind everyone about his Tippecanoe victory and his running mate John Tyler. The Democrats fought hard to beat Harrison. They even referred to him as Granny Harrison, the Petticoat General. And they called him that because he was 68 years old, and they hoped that his age would work against him in the election. But no such luck. The Democratic strategy failed, and Harrison easily won the elections. Or did he? Yes, he became president, but unfortunately, Harrison died 32 days after taking office. He was the first president to die in office. And as the Constitution stipulates, his vice president, John Tyler, took over as the new president. Harrison's death also created problems within the Whig Party. They had planned on pushing Congress to recreate the U.S. Bank. Harrison would have approved that because he supported the bank. But now that John Tyler is president, he vetoed passage of the bank bill. Tyler's stay in office was awful. His entire cabinet resigned except for Daniel Webster. The Whigs and Tyler fought constantly, and they fought amongst themselves to the point that they accomplished very little, if anything, during the entire 4 years that Tyler was president. And now you know a little bit about Van Buren, Harrison, and Tyler.